Hi, hello everyone. There has been an uproar after the Parliament passed the three bills on agricultural market reforms recently, and the farmers have taken to the streets, even on tractors, protesting against these three bills. These bills have now become laws as it is given assent by the President of India on September 27th. Bands were observed, mass rallies were taken, and protests were happening all across the country. Opposition parties and various farmer groups have expressed their concern because they believe that these laws will corporatize agriculture, threaten the existing mandi system and state revenues, and also dilute the government procurement at guaranteed prices. The government has since then reiterated that this is in the benefit of the farmers, and this is also as part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan package. The government hopes that these laws will create an ecosystem where farmers will have better choice, better price, and they will be able to sell inter and intra-state trade and commerce outside the mandis controlled by the APMCs. They also believe that it will increase private investment and foreign direct investment in agricultural processing, marketing and infrastructure, thereby giving a boost to this sector. The bills aim to change the way agricultural produce is marketed, sold and stored across the country, making it one nation, one market. The three bills that has been passed are the APMC Bypass Ordinance Bill, Contract Farming Bill and the Essential Commodities Amendment Act Bill. In this video, let us see what is the existing system, what are the three new bills, what is its pros and cons, and why there are nationwide protests, what is the demand of the farmers, and how it is going to affect the common man. The concept of agricultural produce market regulation in India dates back to British period and is prevalent since 1850s. The farmers had been facing several difficulties as the whole system of distribution of agricultural produce was dominated by the money lenders and traders in the villages. The farmers had no means to sell their produce directly to the markets, and they were dependent on these traders who exploited them, and as such the farmers were in debt and faced lots of problems. Towards this, the government introduced APMC at state level and declared them as the market areas and were subject to jurisdiction of the market committees. State governments set up APMCs, that is Agricultural Produce Market Committees, which in turn set up market or mandis in several places in the state. It is here that farmers bring their produce and wholesale and retail traders come to buy the produce through auctions. The APMCs across the country ensure that farmers get a fair price for their produce and are enforced to make a distress sale. The buyers and commission agents are regulated by the APMCs by providing them licenses, levying market fees, and any such charges are regulated. The APMC is an act, and government set up a committee in 1965 wherein a network of regulated mandis were formed and called as APMC mandis. When farmers sell to these mandis, they were protected with minimum support price, that is a MSP, which acted as an incentive to the farmers to remain in cultivation, and if farmers are left out with any produce, then government will buy those from them if traders are not able to do so. This was a good deal for the farmers, and these markets were regulated by the State APMC Act. But over the years, several flaws came in APCM. Firstly, the market committee have extra powers to grant licenses to traders. Secondly, licensed commission agents that procured produce from the farmers started forming cartels, thereby formulating deals with one another. It was also seen that they were collectively taking decisions for not buying from farmers at a particular price. And thirdly, mafias were forcing farmers to sell in mandis, etc. Other problems included overproduction, low crop prices, high transportation costs, high interest rates, and growing debt. Farmers worked to alleviate these problems. The other major issue with the existing MSP-based procurement system is the dependence on middlemen, commission agents and red tapeism of the APMC officials. An average farmer finds it difficult to get access to these mandis and depends on the market to sell farm produce. It is because of this that the present government took the decision to end the monopoly of the APMC markets or mandis and passed a central law to amend the existing APMC Act. On September 27, India's President gave assent to 3 farm bills passed by the Parliament. The key provisions of the proposed legislation are intended to help small and marginal farmers who don't have means to either bargain for the produce to get a better price or invest in technology to improve the productivity of farms. Now let us look at these 3 farm bills. First is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill 2020. The bill on agri-market seeks to allow farmers to sell their produce outside APMC, that is Agriculture Produce Market Committee mandis, to whoever they want. Anyone can buy their produce even at their own farm gates. Though commission agents of the mandis and states would lose commissions and mandi fees respectively, that is the main reason for the current protests. Farmers will get better prices through competition and cost cutting on transportation. They can also sell interstate or intrastate or even online. Mandis are spread across all states in the entire nation and mandis are controlled by state government through APMC. This will allow barrier-free trade in agriculture. This bill is beneficial for big farmers as they will have more choices and can sell to private players. Small-scale farmers are selling to consumers directly even now, but if a large-scale farmer needs their produce to be protected by the government, then the farmer need to notify the APMC or trade only with APMC licensed trader. Until now, only 6% of the farmers in the entire country gets MSP, and MSP will only be given if they sell in the regulated APMC mandis, and 94% of the farmers are in any case dependent on the markets. Previous surveys have shown that majority of the produce was being sold to the private trade outside the mandis. It was not like the mandis had a great hold. But if traders buy inside APMC, then they will have to pay mandi tax, and if private company buys outside the mandis, then they could not have to pay taxes. Due to this, more sales will happen gradually out of mandi, and thus the mandi network will become redundant. Farmers believe that MSP that was assured to farmers would also decline gradually going forward. This is also one way for the government to get out of the agri-business, as produce will be brought and sold in the free market. Farmers' income will also depend upon the various changes that happens in the marketplace. When the demand is low, then prices will fall, and when the demand is more, then the prices will rise for a particular produce. Farmers will have an issue when the prices are low due to low demand and rising costs of cultivation. Government will not give any subsidy or help at the time of procurement, but the private companies will buy at lower price and sell at higher prices to consumers. Now the second bill is the Farmer Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020. Through this, farmers can enter into written agreements with anyone, including a company, agri-business firms, large retailers or a business owner, and sell them their produce for a particular period of time as per the contract. In other words, companies can now have contracts with farmers for buying produce at pre-agreed price, standards, quality, delivery requirements and other legalities beforehand. This will help small and marginal farmers as the legislation will transfer the risk of market unpredictability from the farmer to the sponsor and legal agreement towards farmers' interests so that the farmer is not cheated. This will also enable farmers to assess modern technology and get better inputs, thereby reducing cost of marketing and boosting their income. To settle any disputes with regards to price and quality, there is dispute settlement mechanism by an established authority. The third bill is the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill 2020. The Essential Commodities Act dates back to several decades, say 1955. The Act was basically made to include production, supply and distribution of certain commodities which are essential. So, if an item comes under this Act, for example, a food item or a drug, or for that matter, fuel or petroleum products, then traders and supermarkets cannot hoard these items and cannot create artificial shortage and increase the prices. The amendment to this Act, the Essential Commodities Act Amendment Bill, states to remove certain commodities like cereals, pulses, edible oils, onions and potatoes from the essential commodities list. It means that the legislation will do away with stock holding limits, supply and price increase of such items except extraordinary circumstances such as war, famine, exorbitant increase in prices and natural calamities. Removing these items from the essential commodities list will increase the prices, but it is a good thing for the farmers as it will boost their income. But as there is no regulation, then the chances of hoarding, artificial shortage, black marketing will increase, which will result in increase in prices to the consumers. The Amendment Act also states that if the prices of non-perishable items increases by 50% and the prices of perishable items increases by 100%, then the government will interfere and bring these items back into the essential commodities list so as to control the prices. As the limits are set at 50% and 100%, both farmers and traders will increase the price, and as such, going forward, the prices of these commodities are going to increase. The government believes that by doing so, it will attract private investment as well as foreign direct investment in the farm sector and also remove the fears of these private players of unnecessary government interference and certain restrictions. The main idea behind all these three bills is to liberalize the farming sector and make it more attractive so that the system becomes more efficient and also there is increase in the income for all concerned, especially the farmers. The main concern presumably is to make this sector more remunerative and attractive than what it is right now. Now, who is protesting and why they are protesting? Various political parties and farm organizations such as the Bharatiya Kisan Union and the All India Kisan Sangharsh Coordination Committee have been protesting against the bills which they believe are designed to help big corporate houses at the cost of farmers. The opposition parties have also opposed the three bills, calling them anti-farmers, and BJP ally SAD Shiromani Akoli Dal has pulled out his minister in protest against the bills. Now, the old system might not favor a majority of farmers who could stand to gain by more choices that the new legislation proposes. On the other hand, the legislations are likely to impact influential commission agents, mainly in Punjab and Haryana, in mandis, who don't want their grip over farmers to weaken. The state government of Punjab and Haryana will be affected most because of loss of mandi tax, a good source of income. The commission agents will lose not only their commissions but also their traditional business. The agent and farmer ties are close since the former functions as informal bankers without collateral in the times of need. But the legislation, government officials said, did not do away with the system altogether and instead added an option. The issues and fears raised by the protesters include end of minimum support price, regime in due course, irrelevance of state-controlled agricultural produce market committee mandis, risk of losing out land rights under contract farming rule, reduction in price of farm produce due to market domination by big agri-businesses, and exploitation of farmers by big contractors through contract farming provisions. Farmers are also demanding that MSPs be made universal within mandis and outside so that all buyers, whether government or private, will have to use these rates as a floor price below which sales cannot be made. Now, there are some other concerns as well. One of the major concerns raised by regional political parties and non-BJP state governments is that agriculture falls in the state list, arguing that the centre should not be making legislation on the subject at all. They are concerned about the loss of revenue from mandi taxes and fees, which currently ranges from 8% to less than 1% in some states. Secondly, paddy farming has received a major boost with procurement at MSPs, and farmers fear their newly assured incomes are at stake. Moreover, there is an unwarranted fascination with MSPs in India. The last agriculture census, which was taken in 2016, showed that 86% of all land holdings were small and marginal, that is less than 2 hectares. You can see the chart here. These are such small plots that most farmers depend on them are net buyers of food. As such, when MSPs are raised, they tend to hurt the farmers the most. This is notwithstanding the data that shows more and more farm produce is being sold to private players instead of the government via MSPs already. Now, one can also understand why farmers are so suspicious about markets. For example, what happened when the government enforced a ban on onion exports? By doing so, the government prioritized the interest of the consumers over the interest of the farmers. Another underlying structural problem is the lack of information with farmers, which hinder their ability to make the best decision for themselves. For instance, how will an average farmer figure out the right price for his or her produce? Now, absence of adequate infrastructure to store their produce is another concern. Farmers may not have the capacity to bargain effectively even if they knew the right price. Adding to this is that the farmers have no knowledge about legal contracts, and how can they fight with big companies in court of law if there are any disputes? It is said that they can sell anywhere at any price, but the question is 86% farmers in India are not able to go from one district to another to sell their produce. So how to sell in different states? This looks largely impossible. Having said this, the farmer suicide is on the rise in many developed countries, and these countries are going through agricultural crisis due to the fact that farmers are being exploited by major multinational companies who have taken over monopoly in agribusiness. This model of free market has failed in many developed countries, and there is a significant decline in farmer income. In fact, they are surviving because of agri subsidies provided by the government. So the question is how it is going to be successful in India. So what is the demand of the farmers? The demand of the farmers include revocation of all these ordinances turned bills. Secondly, they want the mandi system to be intact and their loans be cleared. Thirdly, a law must be promulgated for MSP which should be at least 50% more than the weighted average cost of production, and if MSP is not paid, then it should be penalized. And lastly, a law should come into force that they should get their payment from their buyers through the middlemen. So to conclude, if there are no regulations and free market, then farmers and traders will only think about profits, and as such the prices are going to go up with traders making most of the profits. On the other hand, solution for the farmers for stopping their protest would be to assure them of the MSP both within and outside the mandi, and assuring them further and clarifying this matter once and for all. Giving farmers the opportunity to sell without a middleman would be of great use only if there are roads that link to the villages, if there are climate control storage facilities and reliable power supply to power these facilities, and food processing companies who are able to buy their produce. There should also be more investment in agriculture, where nearly 50% of the population depends upon this sector. What will determine the result of this set of reforms will be its implementation. If the farmers feel cheated and robbed when they actually sell their produce in the market, then they will obviously blame the government. But if they are able to make some sort of a sustainable profits going forward, and if they are able to improve their standards of living, then these doubts and fears will slowly fade away and soften. Time will only tell. Thank you, and see you soon.